My name is Cece Rosen. I live in Mount Crawford, Virginia. On October 23rd, my son was in a tragic car accident. He lost control of his car and hit a tree, and he was brought to Rockingham Memorial Hospital, where I work as a registered nurse. He had a traumatic brain injury and his lungs were filling with fluid, and he was transported to UVA. We arrived at UVA in approximately 1 hour after he was brought to our local hospital, and were told that they didn't know what his outcome was going to be, that it was basically just a wait and see. They were doing everything they could to save his life. He had a fractured hip, a broken jaw, fractured ribs, a very bruised, punctured lung. He had diabetes insipidus, where he was putting out a lot of water and his sodium levels were going very high. And then with his brain injury, he had a pressure monitor in his head, in his forehead, that was monitoring the pressure that his brain was at. He was in a coma for 3.5 weeks in the Neuro ICU at UVA. After 3.5 weeks, he began to start moving toes, fingers, then began to give thumbs up, thumbs down when we would ask him questions. From there, he was moved to the step-down unit at UVA, where he spent approximately a week there. And this was a difficult stage because he was going through storming, where he would thrash about in the bed, was confused, afraid, didn't have control of his self at that time.
Well, I don't remember any of the accident or several days beforehand. When I woke up, I don't have a definite, my first memory, but I just remember kind of coming to slowly, and I remember my father standing over me and kind of telling me what had happened. Just kind of summarizing things for me so I would not get too scared. This was at the time when I was storming too, so I was very confused.
After that, we went to Kluge Children's Rehab Center, where he began his rehab therapy. We spent basically Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve either at UVA or Kluge, and so that's where we had our holidays. At Kluge, he began going through very intense therapy. He had to learn how to walk again, how to talk again, how to eat again. The therapists at Kluge were great with him. I feel like they treated him just like family or like a friend. Always smiling, always excited to see him, always encouraging him. And they worked him very hard. There were days when he absolutely hated it. And in the beginning, he was still continuing to storm somewhat, having a lot of bad dreams, very scared.
At KCRZ, I had occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. In speech therapy, I worked a lot on learning how to articulate my words so I could speak at least the way I can now. I also worked on learning how to eat again, how to consume whole food so I could exercise my muscles in my throat, because I had a trach foot in my throat, so it really did a lot of damage to my windpipe and whatnot. I did a lot of mental exercises to make sure that I hadn't suffered this like a long-term effect on my brain. I wasn't, how do I say this? I hadn't got any less smart. I kept all my prior knowledge, and that was a good thing. Physical therapy, I did tons of working out. It was strengthening and rebuilding the muscles that had diminished when I was in the coma. Muscle atrophy, it sets in after 6 hours, so I was laying there for 3.5 weeks. You can believe they shrunk. I lost about 30 pounds actually from all the decreased muscle mass.
But as time progressed, he continued to get better and started walking, talking and eating, and on January 6th he was discharged from Kluge and returned to our home in Mount Crawford, Virginia.
Well, I just have this hand right here. I have a very limited dexterity in it. I can still pick things up and I kind of use it, but I can't write or, like handle change or something like that. So it's limited, but I'm adjusting to it. Another main thing is my balance. My balance is very, very off. I walk like a sailor or like a drunk old man or something. I've heard quite a lot of things. So I'm kind of strengthening my hips and forming new habits with my legs so I can walk right. When I graduated high school, I was very, very eager to get out of my parents' house, and I would, it's not too far to say that I abused a lot of my newfound freedom. My priorities have changed a bit. Moving out isn't at the top of my list anymore. I kind of want to stay there as long as I can, I suppose. Not complain about a free ride. But I would like to eventually move out and then start going to college and get a degree and become a writer.